What's going on, everybody? Louie T here, and it's Tuesday. You know what that means. We are back with another crypto market update, and we have to talk. We just witnessed over the last 72 hours one of the largest cryptocurrency flash crash liquidation event in history. There's some numbers being thrown out there. Some lower than what I think is the true number, but upwards of $20 billion erased from the crypto market in the last 72 hours, largely due to leverage players. Believe it or not, there are people in this industry that don't go and buy the asset itself. What they do is they utilize leverage on these centralized or decentralized exchanges, and they lever up 1.5 times, 2 times, 3 times, 10 times to increase their dollar value holdings of that asset. But the problem is it's a house of cards, right? When you have too many players in the market only utilizing leverage, not buying the underlying asset, asset class becomes a house of cards and comes tumbling down. So what we saw on Friday, which was Bitcoin and ETH flash crashing 10, 15%, and we're going to take a look at that in a minute. A lot of altcoins cascaded extremely hard and extremely fast, going to prices that no one probably thought possible. And even traders on the lowest of leverage, 1.5, 2x, were in fact liquidated on their positions, completely wiping them out. And some altcoins even went to zero. And not really, but some of these charts show, show the zero, but a lot of 100, 200, 300% flash crashes on these altcoins, completely resetting the market. We had Bitcoin and ETH also crashing pretty decently hard here. Not as bad, of course, as the altcoin market. So today we're going to get into it. I don't really have anything planned. I kind of just want to do a market walkthrough, kind of what I'm looking at, what I'm seeing in the markets. We'll take a look at Bitcoin and ETH. We'll take a look at some altcoins. We're going to hit the terminal. And yeah, I'm just going to get into it, kind of like I would for a normal Discord call, right? So before I do that, guys, take a minute, hit like, subscribe, turn to have updates for these videos we do weekly, right? So we do live streams and these recorded videos every day of the week. So stay tuned for that. But let's dive into the charts, guys, because that is what you're here for. And here we go. So right now, we have Bitcoin. This is the Bitcoin chart in front of us, and this is a weekly chart. So once again, zooming out on the higher time frame is always the best way to go, especially in situations like we're in right now, where you have these crazy, scary flash crash events. It's always best to zoom out, right? Because the lower time frames are going to look ugly. They're going to look scary. It's going to bring out a lot of those emotions you don't want distracting you and making you do things in this market, right? So here we got the Bitcoin weekly chart. And one thing I noticed, right, just looking at this chart point blank, was we did see a nice bounce and push back to the upside Sunday, right? So Friday, Saturday, total massacre of the crypto markets. Everyone was completely wiped out, or not everyone, but a lot of people were wiped out. Saturday, kind of flatlined. And then Sunday, we saw a major reversal out of that event. And that's why, in something I was telling the Discord, right? And this is the value of being in our Discord, guys. Links down below. Check it out. But, me preaching to our guys in the Discord saying, hey, if you're holding spot and you're just watching the markets right now, the best thing to do is nothing, right? In all of my years of crypto, which is going on 9 years now, I've always come out better just simply by, when we have a flash crash event like this and a massive drop across the asset class as a whole, you're always better off just holding onto your bag, right? Not making that emotional decision and trying to sell and to buy back later, because a lot of the time, these flash crashes get reversed, right? Or they bounce hard before coming lower. So either way, right, you're better off sitting on your hands, doing nothing. That is a strategy, simple but effective. Do nothing. Wait for some relief, wait for some more clarity, wait for the dust to settle, and then decide what you're going to do. Because if you did that, a lot of the altcoins that you're holding aren't too far off from where they were before the crash. And all you had to do was just hold and do nothing, right? So that was something I was preaching to our guys in the Discord. A lot of them followed along and listened to that advice and are now well better off because of that. So just another value there. But looking at the weekly chart here, guys, the weekly candle, although a scary week, was saved Sunday night. So this weekly candle came all the way down to 100K, right? So Bitcoin pretty much flash crashed last week from 125K to $100,000, right? Pretty crazy, pretty big move for Bitcoin. But what's important is the weekly close. So the weekly close, because we pushed back up into Sunday night, the weekly candle closes Sunday night, of course, we actually still closed the week, right? This is the candle body close, this black handle right here. We still closed the week holding above key market structure on the chart, right? So, yep, scary drop. Bulls stepped in, bought us all the way back up, and saved the weekly candle holding above key market structure and pretty much keeping market structure intact and this weekly uptrend intact as well, just by pushing up into the Sunday close for the weekly candle close. So, this is a major wicking candle to the downside. Beautiful candle body close, holding above key market structure. I mean, looking at the weekly chart here, guys, not much has happened, and we're still just as bullish as we were a week ago, right? So really liking the look of the weekly chart. It really does look A-okay as of now for Bitcoin here. So yeah, guys, weekly chart looking still relatively healthy, right? We want to see the weekly continue to close its candle bodies above 108, 109, 110K. And would really like to see this kind of parabolic structure, which I still think we're entering, right? We looked really good coming up here, bouncing off this key level on the weekly, kind of riding this logarithmic parabolic curve here. And I still think there's a very good chance we could really start to see this slow grinding trend for Bitcoin continue to accelerate and kind of get into that steepening, euphoric blow off top style move for Bitcoin that I still think, is in store, right? But we're going to continue to monitor, right? We can't ignore the facts. So if Bitcoin does begin to lose, right, and close weekly candles below market structure, right, we have to adapt. But as of now, as of last week's close, we're still holding, key weekly market structure. And there's still a great chance for Bitcoin to get saved here because at the end of the day, and I didn't mention earlier, like this flash crash that we saw, I really do believe it's pretty much like a reset and a cleanse of the market that needed to happen in a way in order for this asset class to really enter into expansion, right? Delete and liquidate and take out all that excess leverage buildup and then bring in that spot buying pressure and cleanse the market of all that. The market pretty much has a green light to head higher. So I am looking at this right now, until proven otherwise, as a massive flush bear trap, last kind of pre-bull market trap before the asset class itself does expand as a whole. Let's take a look at the daily as well for Bitcoin. Again, not looking horrible on the daily, guys, right? Even with this major drop on Bitcoin, we still are on the daily holding key market structure, right? As long as we're above, this key consolidation structure highs here, which is at 110, 109, 110K level, we're bullish on the daily, right? So as long as Bitcoin can maintain and continue to close daily candle bodies above this level here, we have a great shot, and there's nothing stopping Bitcoin for continuing higher, pretty much getting the move that we thought we were getting here, right? Bitcoin looked great, looked like it was ready to break out. Bam. This is your bull trap. This is your bear trap. Then we can continue on our merry way, both shorts and longs taken out of the equation, and then Bitcoin continue on its merry way in a liquidation, leverage free market in a way, kind of healing itself and kind of nature is healing type of moment there. For the market. Zooming in even further here, guys, Bitcoin on the 6 hour, right? And this kind of gives a little more zoomed in view of what we're dealing with this local drop. So when you zoom in here, obviously this drop looks a lot scarier, right, than what we previously just looked at. But at the end of the day, right, I like keeping things simple when it comes to charting. Simple is just always better for me. We really just had a move from range highs to range lows, right? Just looking at this kind of last month and a half, 2 months of price action as a simple range. These are deviations of your range lows. These are deviations of our range highs. We're pretty much just in a range, right? So although a scary drop, we really just went from deviating range highs to deviating range lows, right? That's all that really happened. So looking at this in the lower time frame, what we want to see is Bitcoin reclaim the range, which we had a nice bounce yesterday, right? Sunday into Monday. We are retracing some of that. Totally normal, right? Totally normal to retrace, kind of a dead cat bounce that happened over a weekend, reset some of that liquidity late, people chasing this bounce late, getting, wrecked once again. We're seeing that. And now we want to see price regain price acceptance back inside the range, looking at around 112, 113K. And if you can see Bitcoin get back inside the range, we really should start climbing back up to range highs, right? And can pretty much anticipate the range to continue to range, at the end of the day. So right now, liking what I'm seeing. Big bounce, retrace, and once again, this morning, trying to bounce back and reclaim the range. So once again, lower time frame, looking for that 112.5, 113K reclaim. Price acceptance back inside this range. Price is going to gravitate back towards our mid-range, right, which is 117K. Big level here locally. 117K is the key for Bitcoin to, head back to the upside and go for a bullish continuation into price discovery. So 117K is a big level you guys should be watching. And we also created a ton of internal liquidity, or otherwise called an FEG, or fair value gap, on this super quick move down. So price does tend to gravitate towards these illiquid moves, these FEGs, internal liquidities on the chart. Loving that we have that above. Loving that we're working on this range reclaim, seeing some nice little double bottom here action here on the 6-hour charts, and just looking for a reclaim, right? So we really do want to see Bitcoin reclaim. We pretty much can bounce around here and be okay, but really don't want to see Bitcoin like trading below 107K. That is not going to be a good look for Bitcoin. So bouncing where we are now, perfectly fine. We did actually even backfill a CME gap that we created the last week of September. Looked like we were never going to come back for it. And obviously on this flash crash, we did come back for it. And I mean, look at the precision, right? Backfilled, stopped on a dime, and then bouncing, right? So pretty crazy how that works. But yeah, lower time frame, again, nothing crazy. Bitcoin just ranging. This looked promising for a range high breakout. That's why I think this is more of a trap, right? This was going to be your true breakout. This is your manipulation. And then we can go on the merry way. And Bitcoin goes into price discovery, guys. So that's Bitcoin. I think we did enough of that. We'll take a look at ETH here on the weekly time frame, because again, I really do like the weekly close we got for ETH this past Sunday. And again, very similar to Bitcoin, guys. ETH's weekly candle close saved by the bull Sunday night. Our weekly candle, ETH traded all the way back down to 3,500 on Friday, which is pretty crazy. Pretty much dropped from 4,700 to 3,400 in just a couple hours. Pretty insane. But I mean, look at this backtest of this falling ascending trend line that we broke out of, right? So technically, you could say that we backtested, broke out of this falling trend line that's been suppressing price since the 2021 all-time highs. We broke out. We had a bullish throwback, flipping into support, and now we're ready to head on our merry way into price discovery. And similar to Bitcoin, guys, I mean, look at this weekly candle, right? It's all wick to the downside. This weekly candle could have been so much worse. If this weekly candle closed down here and we didn't get that bounce on Sunday, this would have been a very bearish weekly candle, because we would be entering back inside the range and likely going to be heading back to range lows. We did not do that, right? Given all the crazy flash crash and drop in prices, at the end of the day, we closed our weekly candle above our key range highs, our multi-year range highs. So still holding our break above our range highs. We backtested our falling descending trend line that's been capping price for 4 years now. And to me, looking at the weekly chart, this is your trap. This is your last shakeout for ETH. And ETH looks ready to squeeze. ETH looks ready to squeeze, guys. Like when all is said and done here, now that the dust is settled, things don't look too bad as far as Bitcoin and ETH, and that has me optimistic. And still kind of in the same camp that we are on the precipice of a massive run for the crypto asset class as a whole. So really liking the weekly close on ETH as well. Massive wick to the downside, nice long tail wick. That's indicative of a reversal. So we've been in a consolidation downtrend for the last month and a half, 2 months. This long wicked weekly candle is a great signal of reversal and ending to this consolidation before we go for the true break of all-time highs and enter into price discovery, where at a minimum, price discovery and breaking all-time highs is going to take us to like 68, $7,000 on ETH from where we are now. And if ETH is trading up at these levels and entering peak velocity and approaching 7K, altcoins are going to be absolutely going crazy. And the right altcoins, right? So, that's why I'm very excited. That's why, not letting the emotions and the craziness of the last 72 hours get to me, just sticking with our charts, zooming out. And by doing so, things look okay, right? Things still look bullish, in my opinion. I'm still very optimistic for the future and in the near term, right? In the near term. So, all right, guys, that's that. Let's jump over to BB Terminal and check out some stuff on there. Again, links down below for BB Terminal, your number one tool for this crypto bull run. Tons of tools, tons of features on here. One of my favorite is the heat maps, right? Heat maps pretty much show where the liquidity lies on the chart, right? We just talked earlier about the market flushing out all the leverage. These heat maps tell you where that leverage is, right? So just looking at the a 3-day Bitcoin heat map here. Again, talking about that 117K level for Bitcoin. We wiped out all of this liquidity on Bitcoin on this recent drop. And now looking like most of it is above us now, right? With a lot sitting around 117K. And that's why I'm looking for a reversal, right? Maybe a little more local chop here. We got a little bit below us here at 111K. Maybe we see some local pullback here, some local, shakeouts here and there. Nothing that really should concern you. But I think a bigger move over the next couple days, weeks, is a climb, back into that 117K area. Nice big chunk of liquidity on the way up and at that 117K level. And that's what I'm looking for. So wouldn't really be surprised to see Bitcoin continue to climb back towards that 117K level. And the liquidity heat maps kind of confirming that as well. So love that tool. Also going to hit the Degen page, guys. This is where, all of your on-chain trading, right? Kind of like a deck screener, but with tons more tools, features, and stuff like that. And this is also free with BB Terminal. Just use a link down below. You just need an email to sign up. Completely free. And this is kind of our of all the on-chain tokens in the market. Gives you top gainers, gives you trending categories. It's a great way to kind of catch trends before they happen or while they're happening, to get on board, finding new tokens in the market. And yeah, let's just play around a little bit, because most of my on-chain trading is done on Base. So we're going to go to the Base Chain tab, and we're going to get a list pulled up of the top trending Base tokens at the moment. And we're going to dive into some of them here. So yeah, right off the bat, guys, this is an interesting one. I'm not very familiar with it, but let's take a look at it. VPay by Virtuals, up a couple 100% in the last 24 hours and sitting only at, under a $5 million market cap. This is something to pay attention to, right? It's not something I'm in. I don't know anything about this token. Just be aware, but just giving you an example of how you can use the terminal as a tool. So right now, this is breaking out. It's a big move for this token, right? Kind of had a launch, descended into the lows, capitulated, and bang, seeing a big move off the lows. Not usually a fan of chasing big pumps like this, but it's worth saying, okay, this token, right? Buyers way outnumbering the sellers here. Volume super high for a token this size. It's worth saying, okay, this token's moving, it's pumping. I'll pay attention to it. Maybe you set a level here for maybe a possible pullback into here and you buy something like that. But just very interesting to see. This is a token that's popping off more recently. Another one that I saw right away is Zora, guys. Zora is one I've mentioned on previous videos, have been talking a bunch about in the Discord, and we got in on Zora at very, very price. So loving our entries on Zora. And Zora is actually a token that's been pumping It's probably the only token in the market over the last 72 hours that's higher than where it was when we before this massive flash crash started, because this Zora was actually pumping into that flash crash, and it's holding on to its gains, right? So something like a Zora been on the Degen trending page for a while now. It started showing up on the trending page down here. It's something we were eyeing. I got us in the Discord, down at these prices. We were buying down here. And because of our entry on Zora, we've been able to kind of, have a 75 to 100% plus winner. This went over 150% to the upside into Friday. So even with all this market turmoil, there's always an opportunity out there. The Degen screener is a great way to find those opportunities. And yeah, we got into Zora around 5 cents, 4 cents, and now we're sitting on a profitable trade. So another great example to get in the Discord or use the Degen page, right? You could have just used the Degen page for free. Don't need me. See that it started to trend on the Degen page around this area. Took a shot at an entry and caught a massive move, right? So Zora, another base token I'm super bullish on, kind of revolved around creator tokens. Everyone who posts on social media getting paid through that. There are people buying their token. They're introducing streaming, and they're backed by Coinbase, which is something I love, right? So a project that's completely backed by Coinbase and only sitting, it's sitting not even close to $1 billion market cap yet. So I think this token has some serious upside left in the tank, and very happy with our entries down in this area on Zora. So, just a little Degen terminal preview there, and how you could use it as a tool in this market to kind of keep an edge, right? So love this product. Love BB Terminal, and it helps, your boys over at BB. It helps us keep the lights on. So, why use a random product out there you don't know who owns it versus somewhere, versus supporting our team here at BB, who, we're very community based and we do a lot of stuff for you guys out there. So that is all I got today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found value. I'm looking for upside. Do not let this local shakeout scare you out of the markets, because I think, honestly, it was its final flush before a massive expansion until proven otherwise, right? We'll keep monitoring it. I'll keep updating you guys in these videos once a week. But if you really want the insider information as far as what my thoughts are, and what are thoughts of the other analysts, we have 8 analysts on our team that have been in crypto for 8 years plus, right? So being in the Discord, getting day by day thoughts, trades, analysis from all of our team here at Because Bitcoin, get in the Discord. It's extremely important in these crazy times to not do this alone, right? So that's all I got, guys. Everyone have a great day, and I'll see you next week. Peace.